our next panel. Humans are social animals, and we have an innate need to connect with other humans. When we're cut off physically, we have to look to technology to fill the gap. So now we welcome Joe Beliotti, co-founder of the music division and a 20-plus year music and marketing industry recognized leader, to show us how to make that connection with streaming. Joe spent 8 years as head of global music for Coca-Cola, or the Coca-Cola Company, where he architected and led global scalable strategies, partnerships, and initiatives across the company's portfolio. So welcome, and thank you for joining us. I think we're good. There we go. Can take this minute to get your orders in. There we go. Just need you to unmute, Joe, and you should be good to go. Oh, got frozen. Try now. As promised, we have to have a couple technical glitches, but we will get through it. You have to unmute, and you're freezing a bit, Joe. You logged off again. Try it again. And then in the bottom left, you should see mute. You have to click that mic. Not getting sound and getting choppy video. Oh, there we go. Just heard you. Oh, and then you got muted again. You have to click unmute. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, perfect. There we go.
Sorry about that. There was just an internet Wi-Fi issue. Apologies.
No worries. Take it away.
Cool. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to talk a little bit about what's happening in music throughout this crisis. Been a big fan of the Hawke Media group, an admirer of what they're doing. So to jump in, and a little introduction, my name's Joe Beliotti. I have been in the music and marketing space for, for about 20-something years, doing everything from working on the music industry side to music for film and TV to, I was the head of global music at Coca-Cola for 8 years, from 2010 to 2018, where I helped the brand bring to life their strategies through music. So everything from music for the Olympics, the World Cup, our Share a Coke campaign, Spotify partnerships, live streaming, which I'll talk about. So I've been involved in helping brands leverage music to drive their business. And now I run a company called the Music Division, which helps brands leverage music as well. And what I do is different based on what the brand needs done. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what we're doing. I have a deck, and I want to talk a little bit about, of course, what's happening with the space here. So I'm having a little trouble sharing my screen, of course. Hold on. Okay. Okay, let me try to share this. Okay, I can't share the screen for some reason, but I do have a PowerPoint that I'll post a deck and I'll talk through it on this conference, on this line. So basically, what we're looking at is the passion of music is really taking on a new shape given what's happening with the onset of the coronavirus. And we have some observations on how that's impacting not just user behavior, consumer behavior, but what artists and brands and the music ecosystem are doing in this time. So the first thing we talk about is how this crisis is shaping the ways we engage with music. So if you look back to earlier this year, the live music projections for the US were the growth of $37 billion in incremental growth, up 4%, 37% of that growth is coming from North America. So the live music market, the projections were extremely optimistic. People were going to events. We know people like music experiences, and it was just poised to be something really, really special for the business. What happened since then, obviously, is started to unravel. And I have a timeline that I'll post afterwards. But back in January, we started to see Asia's live music industry come to a halt. Then in February, mid-January, February, we really started to see Europe the cancellations start to happen in Europe. Then starting in March, we started to see the US cancellations. I think the first major event to cancel in the US was March 4th, the Ultra Music Festival, March 6th, South by Southwest. Then from March 11th to the end of March, we just saw this onslaught of cancellations. From, March 11th was the point where they said no gatherings of more than 1,000 people. So we saw Broadway close. We saw Live Nation and AEG, the largest concert promoters, close. The LA Philharmonic, iHeartRadio, Bonnaroo, Glastonbury, Summerfest, all these, amazing festivals, all these events started to close. And then by the end of March, the live music industry was shut down. So what happened is people started to go online. And what happened online was a few things. One is we saw podcasts and TikTok, take off. The consumption there just go through the roof. We saw music videos go through the roof on YouTube. Consumption started to go. The uptick was just immediate. We saw live streaming of music go through the roof, and we're going to talk about that in depth. But we also saw music audio streaming start to decline. We started to see Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, the sort of straight streaming of music audio decline. And the reasons for that are twofold. One is that music is cyclical. You can see sort of over the course of, a year, you see dips in around the holidays. You see dips around times when people are, more attuned to staying at home, or their holidays where their routines are disrupted. So that's probably the biggest factor here, is that the routine was disrupted. So music on the go, in the car, at work, in the gym, all that was disrupted. So we started to see audio streaming start to decline. And there's reports that it's leveling out a little bit. It's not a major decline, but it's enough of a decline. But within that, live music, through all this is going to come out looking differently. So if you look at the ecosystem impacts of what's happening, I look at the ecosystem as, of course, artists and fans, but also talent representation, whether it be the CAAs, William Morris, the Paradigms, the music managers. We look at event promoters like Live Nation, AEG. Then we look at discovery and ticketing like Ticketmaster, SeatGeek, Bands in Town. If you look at that ecosystem, immediately they were just clobbered. Endeavor, UTA, Paradigm, agencies were just cutting. And the reason is their business model is based on a cycle. So in January, February, March, they're doing a lot of investing, a lot of getting ready for the summer season. Summer is where they make a ton of their money, big revenue, and then they coast through December and back into the next season. So this couldn't have hit at a worse time for the live music industry. And the good thing about this is that we're starting to see companies like Live Nation step up, to help the people, to build funds, to help the people that are behind the scenes, the people that are building staging, the people that are doing the catering, the things that are, essential to live events. So the bright spot we're seeing though is live streaming. And live streaming, whether it's through Instagram, Facebook, Vimeo, YouTube, Twitch, First Tube Media, has always been sort of a bright spot to me. I did my first music live stream back in 2011. I had an artist, I had Maroon 5, go into a studio in London. And we asked them to write and record a song on the spot, and we called it the 24-hour session. So they had 24 hours to write and record on the spot, and we were going to live stream the whole thing. And in 2011, it was an amazing activation. The band took it seriously, and it was a ton of fun, and people, tuned in. But we actually had to have a truck parked outside to handle the live streaming capabilities. I mean, now, cut to 2016, where I started a channel called Hawke Music TV, where I did over 50, 60 live broadcasts of intimate events and live streaming. We did all that through an iPhone. So the production and distribution, has come such a long way. But what makes live streaming so special in music is that, and I think this is true for anything in live streaming, is that you're transported into a moment in real time. You're not just looking at a moment, it's not just capturing a moment, but you're actually there. The second thing is that it's social. You see a sense of community when you experience a live stream. You can interact with the viewer and the broadcaster. You can't do that through any other form of content. Real-time interaction, viewer, broadcaster, you're seeing, what's happening. It's also, there's an authenticity, it's unedited, it's unpolished, and there's an excitement to it. Anything can happen. It's really, really a fun format for entertainment. And in the past, we've seen gaming, gamers are just embracing live streaming. Twitch is just phenomenal as far as a platform for gamers because they're doing all those things. They're letting their fans and the players are letting their fans into the experience. They're communicating with them. They're really making it participatory and social. Music hadn't really done that. Music, you see a lot of karaoke apps. Even Twitch launched a karaoke type of platform, which, didn't really sort of leverage the same insights as they had with gamers. And you see a lot of live streaming of Beyonce at Coachella, which, is nice. And it's nice to be able to go to Coachella, digitally if you can't be there. But it didn't give you the same experience that live streaming, can give you, which is that up close, really differentiated experience. I don't want to be in the back of the crowd at Coachella watching Beyonce. I can watch that on YouTube the next day or the next week. The experience isn't different. The experience is different when it's live. So we're starting to see live music today take on that. And I wish you could see the deck that I put together, and I will share it. But a company called First Tube Media, which is an amazing production, distribution, content. They're really a holistic live streaming solution for brands and content producers. They put together a sort of TV guide for live streaming. And it is just a massive amount of live streams. On Monday, you can watch everything from, Metallica to Miley Cyrus to Billboard. On Tuesday, you can watch Sennheiser, the microphone company, has Insomnia, the EDM company. On, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, there's just this constant stream of programming. I mean, you could literally, fill your evenings and your days with live streaming. So there's so much going on. And in all of that, with so much going on, you have artists like James Blunt, which just sent the most perfect tweet, and I have to read it to you. He said, during the lockdown, while many other artists are doing mini concerts from their homes, I thought I'd do you all a favor and not. If you don't follow James Blunt on Twitter, you have to. He's hilarious. But I think it's just a commentary to how many people jumped on live streaming. And, you saw Chris Martin, you saw John Legend, the news started to pick it up. You saw Berklee College of Music. And there were a lot of things happening, right off the bat, because artists wanted to stay connected to their fans. So I want to talk about sort of what, when you read through all this live streaming, what do we actually see happening as sort of high-level themes? Well, first, you see really innovative partnerships. You're seeing Bands in Town partner with Twitch. Bands in Town is a live music. If you don't discover music through Bands in Town for live, you really should. It's a fantastic platform. And they have 50 million users, 500,000 artists, and their business is based on getting people to live events. But they quickly pivoted to live streaming, and they partner with Twitch, not just as a broadcast partner, but they have the artists on Bands in Town now have easier, faster access to the tools on Twitch that can help artists create revenue streams from their live performances. So really fast pivot, really innovative partnership. I'm excited to see what comes of this because I talked to the Bands in Town team, and this is going to be part of their core business moving forward. Whether, you know, everyone goes back to the same behavior of live events or not, they're going to continue this. They see the potential in it, and it took this sort of unfortunate crisis to be the catalyst for that. You're seeing a lot of big moments with benefits. So, you know, what I mean by that is iHeart and Fox partnered with Elton John to do the living room concert, which raised $8 million for Corona relief. Amazing. 8.7 million viewers. It had Alicia Keys, Billie Eilish, you know, tons of amazing artists. Beatport and Twitch did the same thing with DJs. 34 DJs from their home over 24 hours, 8 million viewers, 160 countries, raised money for World Health Funds. Great. Amazon and Twitch, same thing. 12-hour charity live stream. And I think these are fantastic because, you know, they're leveraging, you know, these big, you know, moments, these big concert events, and they're doing it, you know, in the spirit of Live Aid to raise funds to help those impacted by this virus. Great. And we're starting to see companies like Pepsi come on board with the Global Citizen to start sponsoring these. And Pepsi's got a One World Together at Home concert that they're putting together with that Global Citizen's putting together that Pepsi's going to sponsor. So we have innovative partnerships, big moments with benefits, and we have live streaming programs. So we're starting to see live streaming not just be a one-off moment, but we're starting to see sort of consistent programming. So TikTok has, you know, Happy at Home Live, which is a series that happens every day at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. We're seeing Miley Cyrus has her Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Bright Minded, it's her series. We're seeing Gibson Guitars launch Homemade Sessions, a daily series. Even Lincoln Center and opera companies are getting into it with putting their programming through live streaming, which is something we hadn't really seen before. We've seen a lot of one-offs, but we hadn't seen a lot of programming happening in live streaming. So it's a really cool thing to see. Because brands are exploring live streaming right now, they're looking at the platforms. They're trying to educate themselves into the, you know, how do you create live streaming content? How do you create programming? They're open now to more of a sort of let's entertain and bring that sort of comfort and value through music to our consumers versus let's just transact. So music was always part of the marketing mix, but you know, being a guy who has his career in music marketing, I'd say it was probably always a nice to have versus a critical to have. You know, whereas now, you know, when you can't do the traditional advertising things and you're not looking to just, you know, sell and transact, you're really looking to connect emotionally with audiences. Music is a phenomenal way to do that, and we're seeing brands start to gravitate towards that. So the last thing I want to cover are sort of opportunities for brands with live streaming. And this is, you know, brands, whether it's direct to consumer, whether it's a media brand, whether it's a small, large company, you know, live streaming has this great way of creating these amazing experiences that are cost effective and scalable. And I think the first thing we look to do when we look for opportunities is we look to bring together audiences, brands, and the music experience. And I like to think about bringing them together around what is the product or service? What is the brand offering and how does it play a role in people's lives? And can we accent that with music? So I put together some really bad thought starters just to give you some context around what that could look like. So you could build a program called Bedroom Sessions. You know, songs today are recorded in bedroom studios all the time. Billie Eilish's entire album was recorded in a bedroom studio. Well, artists are currently in their bedrooms recording. Let's open up that recording process. That could be sponsored by a furniture company. It could be sponsored by Purple Mattress. You know, it could be sponsored by, you know, it could be, you know, I say sponsored, you know, it could be, you know, partnered with a lot of different companies that are looking to be part of that sort of intimate experience. Another thing we could do is Four Corners, live performance and collaborations from around the world. It could be travel booking sites. It could be luggage like Away or Tumi. It could be outdoor, you know, Patagonia, REI. It could have, you know, bring the world together through music, through different places. You could do a program called Coffee Break where, you know, we're all working from home. We still need our 3 p.m. coffee break. Well, Starbucks or Dunkin' or Dutch Brothers can bring coffee house style artist performances at 3 p.m. We could even take the idea of drive-in movies and eventually turn it into drive-in concerts, where a car company could sponsor a drive-in concert where you drive up in your car and maintain that social distance. So there's a lot of different ways we can integrate sort of the brand and music experience together and add value to audiences. There's also things we can do to reimagine the cross-marketing of music opportunities. So if you look at the way brands and music come together, a lot of times it's through music videos, artist release, album parties. So we could do a lot of things around reinventing the fan club. Use live streaming to create unique access for brand fans to music experiences and rewards. We could reimagine the album release party. We could reimagine music videos through live stream music videos. And again, we can reimagine the recording process as not just a closed, process for the artists and the engineers and the producers, but an open process with the fans. So I think when you look at the way music is created and marketed and promoted, there's a lot of opportunities for brands to come into play. And I think the third way brands can look at live streaming is through those sort of everyday moments that they're a part of in people's lives. And it depends on the brand, it depends on the product. But, I have a little timeline where it's like you wake up and you need your morning motivation, and then you do your workout, and maybe you have, study time, or if you're homeschooling your kids, there's a lunch break. Maybe you do a little afternoon dance party because they're full of energy and you need to get them moving. Maybe there's dinner time, maybe there's cocktails, and then you're back in the bedroom for sleep or whatever. So I think like those moments can all have music to amplify them. You can always use, whether it's live streaming or, curating the right mood or moment, your brand can bring an enhancement through music to daily moments. So again, when we look at how we can, opportunities for brands, creating content experiences, looking at music promotion moments and helping to using those as cross-marketing opportunities, and looking at everyday moments and where does a brand and the music experience, where can they intersect, and where can the brand bring a music layer to what they're doing. So I sort of close out the presentation with a broken crystal ball, because who knows what this means long term. I think that it's too early for predictions, and like everyone's been saying on this conference since the beginning, this is unprecedented and we don't know what's going to happen. And the questions we're going to look at throughout this are: will the viewer stay? Will the broadcasters stay? Will more brands dive in? How's the ownership and monetization model going to work? If a brand is creating content with an artist on Instagram, how does that become monetized? Who owns the IP? We're not thinking about that yet, because we're really just, running and gunning and filling the pipeline with content and experiences, but that's going to become an issue that needs to be dealt with. What platforms are going to lead? Who's going to be left behind? Who's going to who's going to be the Zoom of live streaming, where eventually they get dinged for not having the proper security, or need to upgrade their platform because they never anticipated the amount of viewers and interactivity that happens. And how is this going to impact the live music ecosystem? And when I say ecosystem, I'm not just talking about the companies that put on the events, but the artists and the fans. What is a festival going to look like in 6 months, or in a year from now? We have no idea what that's going to look like. Are we going to need to prove our vaccination to get into the door? I mean, there's so many things that are going to unfold, and the only thing we can do, I think during this time, and I say we as the company that we have, is to just chronicle this and just document as much of this, and just kind of build a place for people to get educated into what's going on. Let's learn as we go. We're learning as we go, and we're just going to continue to do that. So that's what we're up to here, and that's what's sort of happening in the live music and streaming space. And I think the benefit of all this is that live streaming is finding its place in music. And again, I wish I wasn't such a technical idiot and I could share the deck, but I will send it around, and hopefully we can post it somewhere, because there's some nice sort of visuals that you can use and to share and just just pass around. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe. That was awesome. That was definitely, it helps a lot of companies think differently. Like the music industry is being affected so much, but it's it's the same way everybody needs to be thinking about this. So that was awesome. I'm curious, the first question, and we have time for a few questions. So actually I'll make that note again. Hashtag QCon on Twitter, best place to ask questions. I'll be monitoring that. And guys, feel free to ask questions throughout talks. We don't have to wait till the end for you guys to ask. We'll answer them at the end. But the first question is, what kind of budgets do you need to engage with these kind of activities? Like, what kind of money do people need to be playing with to leverage some of the things you were talking about?
I mean, it spans the gamut. I mean, you don't need Beyonce style budgets. You don't need millions of dollars. What you really need is you need to figure out what value you're trying to create for your brand and your business, and what value can you bring back to the artist. And I think if you look at ways to do that and create shared value, it can be very economical. And I think if you're really committed to that, you could find artists that are willing to create a sonic identity for your brand based on the fact that you're going to use it in all this media, all your digital media, and they're going to get paid on the back end. You're going to find, artists that are looking to tap into audiences that they don't have access to. I think there's a lot of willingness to, there's no set business model, and there's a lot of willingness to collaborate. And again, it's just being really, really specific on, what's the value you're trying to, extract for your business, and what's the value you can bring back to the artist and ultimately the audience.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. And so what do you have any recommendations on the best way to seek that out, to find those artists, to find ways to collaborate?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few ways of doing it. You can call us, but you look for the people that really understand brands at record labels, and management companies, and they're there, and I think if you're a brand and you call up in artist management company because you're a fan of some of the artists on the roster, or you're looking for Warner Records to help you, Warner Music to help you, find out how to drive your business, they're more than happy to engage. And they're really, really good at finding solutions. They're really creative. I think there's a lot of willingness to collaborate in the music industry. And if you just want introductions, like, I'm happy to do that too. Like, you don't need to even have a company like me in the middle. And I can just make introductions, because I think there's such a willingness on both sides that it really is about, getting more conversation to happen, because they're there. I mean, they're wanting to have the conversation. So you can seek out people in strategic marketing or brand partnerships at labels, management companies, and they're more than happy to help you try to, find a great solution for your business.
Awesome. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us. That was really informative. And yeah, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.